To be honest, it's kind of rare when a game just absolutely grabs me and doesn't let go. I have been finding that it's been happening a little more and more lately, and it leads me to think that maybe like my love for video games is rejuvenated or something like that, but that's not what this video is about. There's one game in particular that since it got released on Friday, I have spent close to 15 hours. 15 hours in a weekend for me is a lot. I know some of you are super hardcore out there and you say, oh, I play 15 hours in one sitting, and you know, kudos to you, that's fantastic. But for me, that's just not how I play games anymore. But Bravely Default 2 has absolutely grabbed hold of me. It doesn't seem to be loosening its grip anytime soon. Hello everybody, Gabe here. I'm gonna be honest, I was a fan of the Bravely Default series just because I know that they are more traditional games in the way that I remember and love them, but I don't have a ton of experience with them. I played just a little bit of the original, none of Bravely Second, I believe it was called, and now Bravely Default 2 is out, and I'm just going into it as a noob for the most part, and I thought it'd be cool to give you a noob's perspective for Bravely Default 2. To say that Bravely Default 2 is a traditional RPG is kind of understating it. There are jobs, and the story is basically the story that you've experienced a number of times if you've played JRPGs for a long time. Yes, there's crystals, yes, there are reluctant heroes, and some of the corniness and cheesiness that comes with JRPGs, but frankly, I kind of like it. Video games have just gotten either super silly or extremely serious. And this is kind of like in the middle where it's like trying to be serious, but it's also kind of silly just because it's also cheesy. And part of me just really loves and misses that Japanese form of storytelling that we don't see so much these days. I did recently play through Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I love that game. That's not super traditional. That isn't turn-based. Bravely Default 2 is completely turn-based. The job system, the weapons, everything is just how I remember it from when I was a kid playing Final Fantasy V. I was really happy that I didn't need to have any prior knowledge to the Bravely Default games other than, hey, they're JRPGs with a cool combat system, and we'll talk about combat in a minute. It 100% brought me back to yesteryear, and it did it in the best way possible. Now, is the story super amazing? Well, no, I don't think it is. In fact, I've played through the story before, just like I'm sure many of you have, but something happened. I don't know what it was, because I had a couple of realizations when I was first playing this. One, it kind of looks like a mobile game. That bugged me so much at the beginning. I was like, wait, this could be on my iPhone and I wouldn't know any difference. Like, this is a Switch game, right? I would love for it to look a little bit better than the stuff I can just play for free on my iPhone, and this is a $60 game. So I was kind of feeling weird about that, but then as I got into it, I just kind of fell in love with the world, with what the characters had going on. I don't love any characters specifically, not quite yet, although I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface of everything. This is one of those games that takes like 5 hours for you to get a title screen. Like this is the type of adventure you were in for. I went to How Long to Beat, and it turns out that the original is like 50 hours, right? If you just do main story stuff and no side quests and things like that. So that leads me to believe that this one is going to be roughly around the same minimum, if not more. So I'm probably looking at 60 hours here before it's all said and done for me. And it has been so freaking long since I dove into an adventure like that. Even The Witcher 3, like, I didn't ever beat. It was just too long. There was just too much going on, and I feel like as a gamer I've moved on. I'm not ashamed to say that I love like shorter adventures now. Even Final Fantasy VII Remake was like a little long for me. For me, 15 hours, that's the sweet spot. If you're pushing to 20, that's great. Just try not to have too much filler. But yeah, this game's really long. But when I was a kid, I didn't care how long these games were. I actually wanted games to be long. When I found out that Final Fantasy VII was 3 discs on PlayStation, I went and figured out a way to get that game, because I figured, hey, if I have this game, it's 3 discs, it's gonna take me at least a month to beat, I'm gonna be good, and I don't have to worry about getting bored with the same game over and over. That's something I wanted back then. Now, as an adult, not so much. I just thought it was interesting how our wants and needs in gaming change as we grow older. You know, speaking of this being traditional though, man, this job system. Ah yes, if you love Final Fantasy V like I did, you fondly remember the job systems. And here, jobs just keep getting thrown at me, and I have 4 characters, and I don't necessarily always know which job is best for which time, and I find myself switching from job to job to job. But that is part of why I have been enjoying this adventure so long. Switching from monk to black mage with my boy Elvis, I love his beard and his little ponytail, by the way, is just really cool. One of the mechanics here is that for every level you increase in your job, because there are different levels, right? There's levels for your characters, levels for your jobs. Every time you increase a level with jobs, you gain a new ability. And even if you are able to put that job as a sub job and, you know, make something else your main job, you still have those abilities available for you to use. So that's led me to this whole back and forth about which jobs are best for which character at which time, because some of these boss fights get really rough. I've probably spent a good couple of hours just trying to level up different jobs so that I could be ready for these bigger battles going forward. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Brave and Default system because you guys know what it is if you know what the game is, although this was a video geared towards newer people. Alright, so when you're Brave, you get to do like up to 4 attacks at once, but they take, you know, battle points, and if you use all 4 attacks at once, you gotta wait like 3 turns to be able to attack again. If you go default, you actually gain a battle point instead of using one, and you get some extra defense boost for that round. That's basically how the system plays out. So you got to figure out if you're going to push or pull back or what you're going to try to do at any given turn of the battle. I feel like that's kind of the best way to explain it, but you know, there's better videos out there explaining the battle system. This isn't a video about the battle system. And I love that each one of these jobs is like so different from the other. I recently unlocked the Beastmaster, where I get to just go and capture beasts to use them like my own Pokemon. Now this isn't new for JRPGs. This is in a lot of other games. I've seen it before, but it's still really cool to do it. I want to talk about the story a little while. My reluctant hero Seth gets caught up in this adventure to get these crystals, because these games are always about crystals. I kind of wish that they would stop with the whole crystals thing in JRPGs, honestly, but hey, you know, thanks Final Fantasy. We meet up with a queen and her loyal, I wouldn't say servant, but he's not a servant, her loyal comrade, and we meet up with a mercenary and her loyal comrade. We all form together to create this happy family that's not really a family yet, but it's going to be a family by the time this is all done, and we adventure trying to get these crystals because we were shipwrecked, and the shipwreck was caused by one of these crystals, this great calamity. They use the word calamity an awful lot in the game. All that to say, the story is not the driving force to me by any means. I like the characters and the character interaction, but overall story, I don't know, it's just kind of there. I've only begun to see glimpses of what the main big bad is going to be. I think it might not even be that, but you know, I've seen some super powerful dudes and dudettes, and everyone else is just kind of like weird and annoying and slightly odd. Again, the story doesn't seem like it's supposed to be one of the tentpoles for the game, although I know a lot of people probably love it. For me, it just kind of carries these characters from situation to situation, and I care more about the characters, not necessarily the story. One of the main complaints that I've always had about JRPGs, and a lot of other people have them too, is, oh, you just press A bunch of times and it attacks automatically, and that's it, the battle's done, it's super easy. Well, kind of, a little bit, sometimes. The boss battles in Bravely Default 2 can get so freaking difficult, so crazy difficult. Not the first couple, those aren't so bad, but as you continue, you're going to come across some foes that just completely decimate you, so you're going to need to go do some grinding. Yes, this is a very grind heavy game. If grinding isn't your thing, you probably want to stay away from this one. I feel like there might be better JRPGs out there for you if grinding is just something you hate, but I just find myself putting on a podcast and grinding for a couple of hours and boom. Aside from that, all the mixing up of the jobs, that really helps out too. I am enjoying figuring out what the boss's weaknesses are and exploiting them in whatever manner I can. There was a boss fight that took me like 5 tries, so there is difficulty here, and I really appreciate that. I seriously do. Now, is this difficulty what's padding up the gameplay time for me? Because I'm almost at 15 hours, and again, I feel like I've only just scratched the surface. Well, the answer is maybe. I've also done some side quests, and unfortunately, most of the side quests are just like fetch quests that are, you know, of varying degrees. There was seriously one quest that made me go from one location to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, just because I took the guy some dinner. First we took him dinner, we forgot forks, and then we forgot, like, I don't know, salsa or water, I don't know, we forgot something, so we had to keep going back and forth, and it almost felt like it was an inside joke, where the developers are telling us, ha 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 ha, this is a fetch quest and you keep doing it, ha 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 ha. And I don't know, I kind of appreciated it, but it also really wasted my time. So I don't know how I felt about it, really. I was a little conflicted, but aside from that, I'm loving the structure of it all. The town people are, you know, they're cool. They give you side quests and give you nice tips and information on the town and just gameplay. I don't know how they know that I'm playing a game, but they seem to know. All in all, I'm really enjoying my time with Bravely Default 2, and I'm a complete beginner to the series. Yes, I've played JRPGs a lot in the past, but this one in particular is wholly brand new, and I am having a ton of fun. Is it the best JRPG of all time? No, not at all. I believe it's a perfectly good and serviceable JRPG, and there are things that I would have maybe done different if I was in charge of making Bravely Default 2. But alas, I'm not, and what is here I still find enjoyable, and for some reason or another, maybe we'll explore this in a further video, it has me hooked and it's not letting go. So I'm actually gonna go play more of it right now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If it's your first time here, I welcome you. Maybe hit that notification bell so that you get alerts whenever I do post videos. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Adios, amigos. Catch you on the next one.